Imagine, just for a second, being born into a secret, inescapable contract.
Right.
And I'm not talking about like a bad mortgage or some terms of service agreement you just blindly scrolled past on your phone.
Yeah, we've all done
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, imagine a contract made centuries before you were even born, like a literal spiritual debt that your ancestors signed in blood.
Wow.
And now you are expected to pay for it with your own life, or, even worse, with your child's life.
I mean, it's a terrifying premise because it fundamentally strips away this modern illusion we all cling to.
The idea that we're totally in control.
Exactly. That idea of total autonomy right from the very first breath you take. It forces you into this world where your fate was literally negotiated before you even had a name.
Okay, let's unpack this, because today we are completely immersing ourselves in exactly that kind of universe.
We really are.
We're looking at a massive stack of sources today drawn from Rena Lynn's series, which is called Prepare for the End. And this material belongs to a very specific, really gritty subgenre that our analytical notes define as kinetic Christian realism.
Which is such a fascinating term.
Right. So we've got excerpts from multiple books in the series, thematic slide decks, some really striking visual materials, and even some poetry.
There's a lot to cover.
There is. Our mission today is to tear down the walls of this vast, hidden, intercontinental war. We want to see how the gears of this universe actually turn.
It's an incredibly intricate blend of eschatological theology, which, just means end times doctrine, and intense modern tactical survivalism.
Yeah, it gets very tactical.
And I think we should state right up front, just so we're clear, we're looking at this purely through the lens of the world the author has built.
Absolutely.
We aren't here to, endorse the theology or take sides on the political or religious viewpoints presented in these texts. Our goal is strictly to understand the mechanics and the implications of this specific universe.
Right, exactly. We're just looking at the source material. So to understand how this generational rescue operation functions on the ground, you first have to understand the cosmic stakes.
Yeah, the big picture.
Like who is actually pulling the strings. The texts paint a highly specific, really psychological profile of the ultimate antagonist in this universe, which is Lucifer. But this isn't, it's not like a calm, collected mastermind playing this long game of chess.
Far from it. The material describes him as totally insane.
Yeah.
And fundamentally narcissistic.
Insane and narcissistic.
Yeah, because he was originally the highest, most beautiful cherub.
Right.
So his narcissism actually acts as a blinding mechanism.
Oh, interesting.
He literally cannot grasp the reality of how fallen he truly is.
Yeah.
But on some level, he is acutely aware that his time is running out.
So he's like a cornered animal on a scorched earth campaign.
That is the exact mechanism driving the violence of this whole series. He knows his fate is either to, somehow win against the creator or be locked away forever. So he operates with zero restraint. It's a complete do-or-die scenario to destroy humanity and usurp the universe. And that sets the stage for this hidden war on Earth that is just absolute and uncompromising.
And that cosmic war room dictates everything that happens on the ground.
It has to, yeah.
Because if you are fighting a war to destroy humanity, you need soldiers, you need infrastructure.
Exactly.
So the analytical essays in our sources introduce this concept called the brutal truth. And that explains how these dark forces actually recruit and maintain their power.
And what's fascinating here is that the people serving this darkness aren't just, ordinary folks making a few bad moral choices.
Right, it's way deeper than that.
The recruitment is entirely based on ancient bloodline contracts.
Bloodline contracts.
Yeah. The texts trace these lineages back to the 1700s and even further back. They specifically mention Aztec emperors, Comanche shamans, and Druidic or Templar lines.
Wow.
These ancestors literally traded their family lines to demonic entities in exchange for earthly power, wealth, and dominion.
It makes me think of, it's like inheriting a massive multi-generational financial debt.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
But instead of the interest compounding in dollars, it compounds in blood and trauma. Because the grooming process described in these excerpts, it's designed to systematically dismantle a child's psychological immune system.
Systemic psychological destruction is the core mechanism here.
Yeah.
The text details how children who are born into these pure-blood covens are given a puppy.
Ugh, this part.
Yeah, they are encouraged to love it, bathe it, sleep with it. The puppy becomes their safe space, their best friend in a really dark world.
And
then, at age 7, the trap snaps shut. They're forced to kill that puppy and drink its blood.
Reading that specific detail just, I mean, it makes your stomach turn.
It really does.
But looking at the mechanics of this universe, it isn't just cruelty for the sake of cruelty.
No, it has a purpose.
Right. The text actually compares this tactic to the conditioning used in Nazi Germany. It's a calculated emotional lobotomy. By forcing the child to destroy the one thing they love, they sever that innate human capacity for empathy, and they replace it with this trauma-bonded obedience.
And it establishes the foundational legal mechanism of the Dark Kingdom, which is blood sacrifice.
Mm.
The puppy is just the primer.
Just the beginning.
Yeah, the text notes that each subsequent birthday brings new, escalating, torturous dedication rituals.
Wow.
Eventually, the teenager or young adult must kill a human being they actually care about. In the lore of this series, doing that final, unthinkable act seals the bloodline contract permanently.
It locks them in.
Right. It binds the human to a Nephilim spirit, essentially guaranteeing possession. Like, we see this character named Billy, who's a direct descendant of a Druidic line, and he is a product of this exact assembly line.
He's the end result.
Yes. He is groomed to be a psychopath with a completely seared conscience, totally puppeted by these dark entities.
Which naturally brings up a massive logistical and moral problem. If you think about this from a legal perspective, if a child is born into a coven, groomed from birth, demonically possessed through rituals they were forced into.
Forced as children, yeah.
Right. And traumatized before they even have a working concept of right and wrong, how can they possibly be held accountable?
It's a huge question.
And more importantly, how does a human being ever break out of a system designed to be that airtight and inescapable?
Well, the author uses that exact moral tension as the engine for the entire series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The narrative fully acknowledges that these victims are trapped in a system of profound deception and spiritual bondage. They cannot simply think their way out of it.
Because they've been brainwashed.
Exactly. Because the spiritual trap is so deeply woven into their physical reality, breaking them out requires an extreme physical intervention.
And that brings us to the Alliance.
Yes, the Alliance.
This is where the kinetic part of kinetic Christian realism comes into play. Because if the enemy is a multi-generational, intercontinental occult syndicate, you can't just fight them with a Wednesday night prayer circle.
All right, you need a little more than that.
You need hard physical infrastructure.
The Alliance is the physical answer to the spiritual syndicate.
Okay.
They are made up of the descendants of original settler families who have been actively fighting these covens for over a century.
So it's a generational fight on both sides.
Exactly. They realized early on that just having theological orthodoxy isn't enough on its own. It requires tactical preparedness. So they built what the text describes as an elaborate witness protection protocol.
And the logistics of this protocol are just wild.
Oh, they are.
Imagine you are part of this alliance, right? And you manage to pull a traumatized teenager out of a coven. You can't just drop them off at a local homeless shelter.
No, the coven would find them in an hour.
Exactly. You have to literally erase their existence. The visual materials we have actually show a badge for someone named Tucker Drake of the Texas Ranger Task Force, Central Texas Division.
Yeah, that badge is a great detail.
It really is. It implies that the Alliance has systematically infiltrated legitimate structures of power. Law enforcement, the judicial system, the legal field.
They utilize that network to perform real-world miracles.
Like what?
Well, when they rescue a victim, underground lawyers and judges legally seal and close the victim's old records.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they issue completely new, legally binding identities and relocate them with enough funds to start a whole new life.
It's incredible.
And if the heat is too intense and the coven's assassins are closing in, characters even mention utilizing physical, off-the-grid tunnel systems to completely vanish.
It's like a modern-day, highly tactical underground railroad.
That's a perfect analogy.
And I do want to push back on this concept of kinetic Christian realism for just a second.
Go for it.
If we accept the premise that God has supreme legal authority over these demons, why does an omnipotent being need a Texas Ranger to forge documents and hide a teenager in a tunnel?
That's a fair question.
Like, why doesn't the spiritual victory immediately translate to physical safety?
That strikes right at the heart of the world building here. In this universe, the physical and spiritual realms are superimposed, but they operate on a dualistic physics.
What do you mean by dualistic physics?
So spiritual deliverance severs the legal claim the demon has on the soul, right? But it doesn't instantly evaporate the physical coven members who are hunting that person down with actual guns.
Right. Because they still have free will on Earth.
Exactly. As one of the characters explicitly states, they are commanded to be his hands and feet.
Ah, I see.
The spiritual victory has to be aggressively walked out and defended in the physical realm. You have to physically kick the door down, pull the captive out, and hide them until the earthly danger passes.
So it's an invisible war happening directly on top of a physical rescue mission.
Exactly that.
Let's look closer at that spiritual overlay then, because the theology regarding the enemy forces is highly specific. We aren't just talking about abstract evil, we are talking about fallen angels and Nephilim spirits.
Yeah, the lore here draws heavily on texts like Genesis 6 and the extra-biblical Book of Enoch.
Right.
The idea is that eons ago, a faction of angels rebelled against the Creator. Some of those fallen angels descended to Earth, took human women, and created monstrous hybrid offspring known as the Nephilim, or giants.
And the mechanism here is crucial. When the physical bodies of those giant hybrids were destroyed in the biblical flood, their immortal spirits survived.
Right, they didn't just go away.
They became what humanity understands as demons, disembodied entities, completely desperate for a physical vessel to interact with the material world.
They crave bodies, and they crave worship. The series posits that nearly all ancient paganism, the old gods of the Aztec, the Comanche, the ancient Near East, was actually the orchestrated worship of these fallen entities.
Usurping the creator's place.
Yes. So when the Alliance pulls off a physical rescue of a human victim, they are ripping a worshiper and a physical vessel away from an ancient god.
Oh, I bet that doesn't go over well.
Not at all. That immediately triggers a ferocious spiritual battle.
And we get a very visceral look at what that angelic warfare actually looks like during this one scene where a human character named Erwin is being delivered.
Such an intense scene.
It really is. The narrative shifts and we see the fight from the angelic perspective. Erwin's guardian angel is facing off against a fallen angel. And the physical description of the fallen being is just pure nightmare fuel.
Oh, totally.
It's monstrous greenish-black, covered in these shimmering snake-like scales.
It is a grotesque, decaying parody of the magnificent creature it used to be.
But the most striking part of the scene isn't the monster itself, it's the guardian angel's reaction to it.
Right, it's very emotional.
The guardian looks at this scaly horror and actually remembers fighting side by side with him, eons ago, before the rebellion. The text explicitly says the guardian feels a profound, piercing sorrow for the brother he lost, knowing that eons from now, he will still miss the angel his brother used to be.
It introduces this breathtaking layer of grief into the cosmic war.
It really does.
The angels aren't unfeeling automatons clashing swords. They have a shared, ancient history. They loved each other.
But, and I know this is a big but.
Yes. But, and this is a foundational pillar of the theology in the series, despite that profound grief, there is an absolute, unwavering standard. There is no mercy for the fallen.
Which, I have to say, feels incredibly harsh. The text makes it clear that the goodness of God within that fallen angel was wiped away permanently.
Right.
But why the double standard? If a human who committed atrocities under demonic influence can be rescued, why is the fallen angel completely irredeemable?
It really comes down to the mechanism of choice, nature, and proximity to the truth.
Okay, unpack that.
The fallen angels made a willing, conscious choice to join Lucifer's rebellion while standing in the full, unshielded light of God's presence.
Ah, so they weren't deceived.
Exactly. They weren't tricked by a snake in a garden. They weren't traumatized children forced to kill a puppy. They knew exactly what they were sacrificing.
So they had full knowledge.
Yes. Therefore, in this theological framework, their nature became permanently corrupted. They are immortal, but their capacity for repentance is gone.
Wow.
The guardian angel can grieve for the past, but he still holds his flaming sword to the monster's throat because he knows the creature in front of him is now entirely crafted in the image of Lucifer.
So the angels are locked in their choices, but the human soul is the ultimate salvageable prize.
Exactly.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The visual slide decks we received, particularly the one titled Breaking the Chain, heavily focus on the exact moment a human is salvaged.
Those slides are powerful.
We have this bold, decisive text commanding the reader to stand up and repent and be baptized. Another slide features Mark 9:23. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth.
Yeah.
The tone completely shifts from this oppressive, brutal darkness into a sudden, blinding burst of tactical hope.
That shift from the brutal truth of demonic bondage to the theology of deliverance is the core message of the source material.
The theology of deliverance.
Yes. The series argues that the kingdom of light operates on a higher, supreme legal authority compared to the kingdom of darkness.
Which overrides the contracts.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how many bloodline contracts were signed in the 1700s. It doesn't matter how many horrifying rituals a person was forced to participate in. The Creator can free anyone who calls upon him.
But there's a process, right?
There is. Just like the physical rescue, it requires specific spiritual legal work to undo the demonic legal work.
It's kind of like going to spiritual bankruptcy court.
That's a great way to put it.
You can't just casually say, I'm sorry, and expect the debt collectors to stop calling. You have to actively break the chains.
Right. The human characters, operating under the protection of the angels, must verbally and legally break what they call soul ties and explicitly cancel the demonic contracts.
And this is based on a specific concept.
Yes, it's rooted in the theological concept of justification, which the text spends significant time unpacking through a courtroom analogy.
Okay, lay that out for us.
When a human victim repents and accepts salvation, the divine judge doesn't just say, I'll let your crimes slide. The judge literally slams down the gavel and declares the defendant not guilty.
I love how the text phrases it. It says justification makes the person morally just as if you'd never sinned at all.
It completely wipes the ledger clean.
It is an unearned absolute pardon that instantly nullifies the enemy's legal claim over the soul.
Exactly. And we see the dramatic manifestation of this legal ruling in Irwin's deliverance scene.
Right, back to Irwin.
As the humans pray and declare this justification, the spiritual realm reacts to the new legal reality. The angels are suddenly authorized to act.
Because the jurisdiction changed.
Exactly. They literally bind the greenish-black demonic entity with these glowing golden cords, completely immobilizing it, and they cast it out of Irwin's presence.
And for the first time in his life, Irwin's face becomes peaceful. The multi-generational mortgage is canceled. He is finally free.
But the kinetic realism of this universe doesn't stop once the demon is evicted.
No, it doesn't.
The text is highly pragmatic about the aftermath. It warns that once you are free, you are essentially a blank slate, and the enemy will immediately try to deceive you with false doctrines to drag you right back into a new kind of bondage.
So you can't afford to be passive.
No, the kinetic realism has to apply to the mind just as much as the body.
That makes sense.
Cult victims who have been stripped of their autonomy are incredibly susceptible to new charismatic leaders or manipulative structures.
Right, they're used to following orders.
Exactly. So to help them maintain their freedom and build a psychological immune system, the author introduces a critical thinking framework for studying the Bible.
Oh, this is the SHOP acronym.
Yes, using the acronym SHOP.
Let's break down that mechanism because I think it's a brilliant tool for deprogramming. SHOP.
Okay, so S stands for section. When you were reading a text, where is it actually located? Is it in the Old Testament law or a New Testament letter?
Right. And H is for historical context, like what was happening in the culture when it was written.
Exactly. Then O is for object, who is specifically being addressed, a whole nation, an individual person.
And then the P.
Yes. P is for prescriptive versus descriptive. And this is probably the most crucial one for avoiding manipulation.
How so?
Well, you have to ask, is the text prescribing a rule for you to follow today? Or is it merely describing an event that happened historically?
It forces the rescued individual to engage logically with the text, rather than just blindly trusting whatever a new authority figure tells them to do.
Exactly. It builds resilience.
The text explicitly warns that false prophets and manipulators hide out even in legitimate professions. The SHOP acronym ensures they own their faith in their own mind.
It is the ultimate defense mechanism against being pulled back into the dark kingdom's matrix of lies.
So what does this all mean? We've covered intercontinental occult syndicates, Nephilim spirits demanding worship, tactical witness protection protocols run by Texas Rangers, and just devastating angelic warfare.
It is a massive, intense, really bloody universe.
But the core theme of this kinetic realism is surprisingly grounded. When you look past the lore and the supernatural elements, it's speaking to something fundamental about the human experience.
It really is.
While you listening right now might not be literally fighting ancient Aztec bloodline demons, at least I hope not, the themes here apply directly to you, it's about recognizing the generational cycles, the metaphorical contracts in your own life.
Yeah, the inherited traumas.
The destructive bad habits, the toxic systems you were born into.
The material really forces a universal question onto the reader. Are you going to just passively accept the brokenness that was handed down to you? Or are you going to fight it?
It takes immense courage to take kinetic physical action to break those cycles. You have to do the grueling work.
You really do.
You have to make the hard choices, set the boundaries, maybe even sever ties with toxic environments, knowing that true freedom requires both a change of heart and a decisive change of action.
And you do it with the hope that a higher power supports that freedom.
Exactly.
And that ties perfectly into a final thought I want to leave you with. It's inspired by the poem included in the source material. It's titled, Who Will I Serve? By Rena Dixon.
Oh, that poem is so good.
The poem beautifully captures that internal tug of war, the competing voices shouting on every side, and the desperate desire to just undo past mistakes.
Yeah.
In our modern Western world, we love to believe that we are the absolute masters of our own destiny. We think we make choices in a vacuum simply for our own benefit.
We desperately want to believe we're the only ones sitting in the driver's seat.
We do. But the paradigm of this deep dive challenges that modern illusion entirely. If the premise of this universe holds true, if there are truly only two kingdoms in existence, a kingdom of light and a kingdom of darkness, then neutrality is a myth.
Neutrality is a myth.
Every choice we make, every habit we indulge, every minor action we take is ultimately an act of allegiance to one side or the other.
So in those quiet, mundane moments today, when you think you are just following your own path and making your own rules, whose voice are you really listening to? Are you writing your own story, or are you just fulfilling a contract you didn't even know you signed?